Hello everyone, and welcome back to my week 2 video for DGBA Poison Point Season 15. Looking to build off of the back of last week's narrow victory, we take on Masskeau, a member of the French-speaking community, which is an entirely different world that I don't know enough about, but anytime I've seen Masskeau play in other leagues, he's done phenomenally well. He's also just a really chill guy. But let's talk less about the person and more about the Pokemon. But this is a problematic matchup here, because if we ignore the Samurott, everything else is pretty viable here. Great Tusk, we all know, is fantastic, and has some really nice coverage against me. Darkrai is a problem, as I've mentioned in my draft analysis, and I don't like dealing with Hypnosis. Dragonite is also a threat, because of it can run special sets here as well as DD3 attacks, and if I get it wrong initially, I can be in serious trouble. Metagross is also a super critical piece for him here, because it is his primary check to a couple of mons on this team, as well as his most likely rocker. So I think it's incredibly likely that thing comes, and if it's benched, it makes my life a hell of a lot easier. Thundy T and Superior are two pretty threatening Terra Captains in their own right. Thundy T here can run a breaker set with Terra Flying, or it can run a dual dance late game win con, and I have to respect both. Terra Serp is annoying here, solely because of its ability to run Sub Glare, which means I can't really go hard Tornadus on it. Sub Glare, Leaf Storm, and Terra Blast Fire puts me in a really bad position, solely because of Muck not having the greatest of matchups. And I'm not 100% sure about Cyclizar as my superior check. So that makes it an incredibly problematic set that I need to respect. Comfey is also quite good at revenging some of my key pieces, as well as can win in the endgame if I'm not careful, and if he is able to wear down Jirachi. And Skuntank is a pretty good Zarude check, surprisingly. So, I have my work cut out for me. But let's get into the 6 that I brought, why I brought them, and why I think I can get the job done. We start with Terra Zarude, and we've gone with a Muscle Band set here with Terra Fairy. We've gone for Swords Dance, Knockoff, Terra Blast, and U-Turn, with the intention being that it only needs Knockoff and Terra Blast to deal offensive pressure. U-Turn is to be able to scout sets, particularly the Skuntank, and the Muscle Band means that U-Turn into +2 Terra Blast always kills a Skuntank, and is my best way of avoiding Rocky Helmet and Aftermath Chip. We've gone with a pretty simple set here, and we've gone with a pretty simple spread. Max speed, well, enough speed to outspeed a Thundy T, which is almost max speed, max attack for damage output, and a little bit of HP, which I don't think comes into play in particular calcs, but, you know, it's better to have than not. Jirachi is pretty important here. We've gone with Assault Vest, meaning it is my best check to both Thunderous as well as Superior. We've gone with Iron Head for General Stab, U-Turn to get on out of there in matchups that I don't like, such as Metagross, Body Slam because Paralysis and Speed Control is going to be pretty crucial here, especially for Zarude, and Ice Punch because my best bet of hitting Thunderous, Superior, and Dragonite. We've gone with enough HP and Spadef to where I can take 2 hits from Darkrai if I have to. The speed means that I can outspeed a paralyzed Darkrai as well as outspeeding a max speed Metagross. And we have gone with the attack investment to give us as much damage output as possible. I believe this also means that Ice Punch 2 kills Thunderous with minimal bulk. So Jirachi is pretty important here. And if we pair that with my next member, it can live for quite a while. So Alomomola makes its debut this week. We've gone with a Rocky Helmet set with Flip Turn, Ice Beam, Wish, Protect. The special attack investment I have here means that multi-scale Broken Dragonite is always 2-hit killed by Ice Beam, and the little bit of Spadef means that I can deal with a Boots Darkrai. I do not want this to be switched in hard on Dragonite, just because I don't really want to be taking a max special attack Hurricane, Draco, or Thunderbolt. But if I CDD, I can pivot this thing in just fine, because of my bulk. We've also gone with a relaxed nature here with 0 IVs and speed to be able to have our flip turn be as slow as possible. Alomomola is going to be pretty crucial here in terms of being able to Wish Pass up the Jirachi, as well as just being a general nuisance, because of its ability to check all of Tusk unless it is a very particular subset, Dragonite if it's not special, and Metagross if it's not Trick, which Trick Metagross is a little bit of a problem. We then get on to Gliscor, and nothing fancy with it this week. We're back to Poison Heal, we're back to Toxic Orb, and we're back to running Earthquake. We've we've also gone with Ice Fang, Toxic, and Protect. Ice Fang to break a sub on a Thunderous that's not Terrid. Toxic to just get general status on the team, which is particularly important versus a fast Great Tusk, which might carry sub here. And Protect to be able to activate the Toxic Orb, particularly in front of mons such as Metagross. So this thing is pretty important. We've gone with enough speed to outspeed a max speed Great Tusk because, like I said, speedy sub Tusk could be an issue, and I would rather get the Toxic off before it subs. And yeah, that little bit of defense and an optimal number for Poison Heal does help with the Ice Spinner calcs. As I mentioned, I am a little bit weak to Dark right here, because yes, it might not run coverage for Terra Fairy Zarude, but I feel like that is going to be a Terra type that he expects. Therefore, it's time to bring Carbink, because as I mentioned in my draft analysis, it can do that job. And it can do a little bit more here, because we've gone with a Citrus Berry set, which helps with Specs Thunderous, and we've gone Terra Fairy, which I probably won't need to use, but it might come in handy. We've gone with a Spikes, Iron Defense, Body Press, and Moonblast set here, with Max Spadef to be able to deal with Specs Thundy. And Iron Defense Body Press is very difficult for him to kill here, especially if I get damage on Metagross, which I think is pretty likely with my team composition. Terra Fairy means that he kind of struggles to kill us in general, especially without Metagross, and I can click Spikes in the early game quite easily, because his pivot is always going to be the Metagross rather than Tusk. And Tusk kind of has a difficult time to get in and specifically click Rapid Spin. Its only real opportunity is if he knows my entire Jirachi set, which I think is rather unlikely until the mid-game. So Carbon can be a pretty crucial component here. It also allows for my Torn set to be able to put in that little bit more work in regards to cleaning up. Speaking of Torn, we've gone with the Choice Scarf set here, with Terra Flying in case I need it. We've gone with Hurricane U-Turn, Foul Play, and Terra Blast. The reasoning behind Scarf is simple enough. Scarf Serp, if he wants to designate his endgames around that, is a problem, and an Agility Metagross is also a problem, as a Weakness Policy set could really put me in the back. Terra Flying Hurricane is really nice to spam here, because as I've mentioned, I think Metagross can get weakened in the early game, and it is his best flying resist, because I'm not 100% sure the Thunderous is going to be keeping its electric typing here. U-Turn helps me to get on out of there in positions that I don't entirely like, and so I don't have to click Flying Move into a healthy Metagross. Foul Play allows for me to deal with the offensive Metagross sets, particularly the agility ones, and Terra Flying Terra Blast is just there in case I haven't Terra'd with Zarude, and I can see an endgame where I can spam Scarf Flying Move and don't want to miss. The speed is enough for Serp, which also naturally means it's enough for +2 Metagross, and then we've just gone with Max Burst Attack, and HP because it's a nice number, especially for regen. So this is the 6 that I brought this week, and it's without further ado, let's find out how it did. Hopping into the game here with some beautiful Octopath music in the background, we see that Masskeau's brought his top 6. And I'm actually going to swap sides here, just because, you know, this is my video. But yeah, as you can see, he's gone with his top 6 here, which does mean that Zarude should find things a little bit easier. I just need to get the opportunities for it. So, I know that my lead here is Gliscor, and if I see, I'm going to click Protect in front of most things here, mostly for scouting purposes. So, let's hop into the game. He leads with his Metagross. Also, I should probably comment, he is Terra Electric Tusk, which means he's most likely trying to use that to break through Alomola. Terra Poison Superior, which was an interesting choice. I was surprised by it. I thought Terra Poison Terra Blast was nowhere near as good as Terra Fire. And he's gone with Terra Fairy Thundy, which was another slight surprise on my end. But I'm not complaining. I like to be confused sometimes, and it's about just kind of figuring that out as the game goes on. So, we see this turn 1 here, Gliscor versus Metagross. I would love to attack this thing, or to get up, or to, like, just predict and click Toxic, but I know I have to click Protect here, just because Scarf Trick is a possibility. So I click Protect as he gets up his rocks, and rocks are fine, they're a little annoying, but I know something that happens. I click EQ, and he clicks Reflect, and this also reveals to be a pretty fat Metagross. So, this is good and bad news for me. It's good news that he doesn't mind taking the hits with his Metagross, but it's also pretty bad news because I don't deal with screens super well, so I kind of need to predict whatever the hell he's going to go into as a setup mon. So So I click Toxic here, he stays in, and clicks Heavy Slam, which does 48. I get Poison Heal, and I click Protect here to try waste another turn, but he goes Hard Serp on this occasion, which is interesting. I know my pivot is 100% Jirachi, because of what I expect this Serp to be, which is clicking a substitute right in my face. And since I know it's Terra Poison, he doesn't have super effective Terra Blast for me. So he Terra Poisons here and clicks Leaf Storm. Terra Poison, I don't get why you'd click it immediately, especially when you don't know what the Jirachi is. And I actually should have calced this. I didn't calc it at the time because I was just like, oh, okay, just click Leaf Storm, that's fine. Maybe he tries sub against me, maybe he attempts to go hard Darkrai. But this is actually a choice spec superior, which I did not realize at the time. But it's definitely biting me in the ass, this Reflect now, because I'm in trouble. And I know I'm in trouble, especially if this Serp is able to get through Jirachi without getting paralyzed. So we get to turn 6 here, and he crits me, which sucks. I thought it sucked more than it actually did, because turns out I did get 3 KO'd by Leaf Storm, but I didn't notice at the time because I didn't calculate with Spec Superior. And I go for Body Slam, and it doesn't para. And in my head, I insta lose here, because and I don't think this is Specs, so I think this is carrying Terra Poison and Terra Blast, therefore it can hit Zarude, and I'm just done for. But, turns out I was just done for it because I didn't get a Body Slam powers. But, you know, I'm pretty much on point, on tilt at this point, because I definitely think that I've just lost the game because of a crit into not getting a Body Slam power. Which sucks, but that's Mons, there's not a lot you can do. So I have to let him kill me here with Leaf Storm, and my only hope is going Torn, clicking Terrifying Hurricane, and hoping and praying it kills, or that I get the confusion and he hits himself. None of those things happen, the game's over. And I know the game's over. I goes a Rude here, I expect to die to Terra Poison Terra Blast, but he goes hard D-Knight, which is confusing. I go for Knock, now regretting my life choices that I didn't keep Terra Fairy on this thing, but there's nothing I can do. And I U-turn out here because I'm like, I might as well. I go Carbink, which is an awful, awful play. I thought I was just in case it was special, but and then I just sack it a +1 EQ. Like, what am I doing? Because in my head, I was just trying to get the spike up to make sure the Serp was dead, so that at least that way I might not get 6-0'd. But my head is gone at this point. This was just a really bad play. EQ gets the kill there. I go into Albemola, take rocks, and I take a +1 Outrage to the face. And I Ice Beam it rather than clicking Wish, which I also don't necessarily get. Outrage, it does die to Rocky Helmet, so I don't get 6-0'd, so that's nice at least. But he just goes Dark right here. Game's over. I go Gliscor. I click Protect a Scout, not like it matters. He clicks Nasty Plot. Game's done. Game is so done. I say GG here, because what else can I do? I go for Ice Beam, and then he Dark Pulses. I don't know why. I just click U-turn, not like it matters. And then, yeah, Ice Beam again picks me off, and I lose the game 5-0. And that's just sometimes what happens with Mons. Spec Superior was not something I expected whatsoever against, you know, a Torn, a Cyclizar, or Jirachi. But that's what happens. Sometimes you're not prepped for something like that, and they go a completely different avenue, and you get absolutely cooked by it. Is this game completely different if I do get the Body Slam power? Yes. But ultimately, I only have myself to blame. I got the entire sequence of the first 5 turns wrong. Meaning he got rocks up for free, he was able to get a free hit off, and was able to get the Serp in for free. Which was a serious problem here. And yeah, Spec Serp was just never on my radar. And didn't get a Body Slam power up, and I was immediately in the back. Could I have gone Zarude first, rather than going into Torn? Maybe. Because Torn still could have had in-game potential. But, you know, it is what it is. We move on to next week, and we just try to do better. Anyways, I will catch you all soon. Peace.